month of exciting cricket, we now have the final match of this group stage, where the table toppers India will take on the Dutch, who are playing for pride. But before we get into that, we'll see how the tournament has been so far, starting with some unexpected upsets to some phenomenal performances. This World Cup has seen it all. For today, I'm your host Shakshi Jain, and these are your experts Gershem and Adit, and we'll take you through today's episode. So starting off, this tournament has been nothing short of entertaining, with some amazing cricket being played over the last month. So what are your views on the tournament so far?
I mean, it's been pretty great. I think a lot of, as you said in the intro, I think there's a lot of results that were unexpected, and one too many upsets, I would say, and some really bad performances from teams that were expected to play really well. And I think to start off with teams that were expected to play really well and didn't, England comes to mind. And I think England were, being the defending champions, were expected to at least make it to the semis. But the kind of performances they've played, they seem to be out of sorts. They don't know, they were never in contention for the semis in the first place. But speaking about one team that stood out for me for the tournament, and I will be keeping a close eye on that team, would be definitely be Afghanistan, because believe it or not, they've been the second best Asian team in this World Cup after India. And a lot of teams, I expected Sri Lanka to be there, but they, from the initial start of the tournament, they had a couple of injuries. Hasranga was in there, their premium spinner. So you could expect them, to not be at their best. But Afghanistan, against all odds, and, they don't really have a lot of infrastructure to, bank on. But given all those, stuff, they've still come out there and, they're still in contention. I know right now they're technically out. They only theoretically have a chance. But for a team that was just supposed to win one or two matches to still be part of the tournament and still be, have a chance to get to the semis is great. And I think great things are awaiting them. But yeah, I think England and Afghanistan are two teams that actually, for different reasons stood out to me entire tournament. So, yeah.
And what about you?
Absolutely, what he said about England. I think they were a team that initially, when the tournament started, they were one team that people thought are going to be part of the top four. I mean, that was always the competition. It's either India, Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa. These were the teams that were talked about. But now, as we are at the business end, the three teams actually competing for the last spot is New Zealand, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Right. And England is nowhere to be seen. So that remains to be, I think, one bad performance from England, and there are a lot of things that haven't worked in their favor. It's not just one player or one aspect of the game that they have lacked in. And Afghanistan again has to be the best, I would say, underdogs. And I think it's no more. They're no more underdogs. Every match they win in the World Cup, I think we can remove the term upset from that, because they're just becoming a quality side. So yeah, I think what he said was absolutely correct.
And I mean, see, if just the last match, I don't think Australia beat Afghanistan. Glenn Maxwell beat Afghanistan. Australia almost had Afghanistan, and if they had them and if they had beaten them, they would have higher chances now to make it to the semis. I think that would have been the biggest story of cricket so far, because I think the last World Cup, they didn't come to 2019. I think 2015, I think they won one match in the entire tournament. To come from there to come to a place where they make it to the semis, that is some fairy tale thing right there. So, but again, there's always another time. I think they've almost made it. I think the next World Cup or in the Champions Trophy that they're qualified for, I think they'll definitely put in some really good performances then too.
Yeah, so with England, for sure, we have some unexpected results.
For sure.
So with that in mind, let's have you guys rate each team of this World Cup on a scale of 1 to 10. So since you spoke about Afghanistan, what would you rate it?
I'd say I'm giving out of 10. Yeah. I'm giving Afghanistan a good 8. And I'll tell you, okay, at 7.5, 8 might be a little too much. Adit would disagree with me. I think it's held for a 7.5. But see, again, the main reason being they weren't expected to be this good. And even if they're the 5th, 6th best team, if they end up somewhere there around that, but still, compared to what they were expected to do, compared to what they did, I think it was really great. So 7.5 or an 8.
Okay, then we move on to Australia.
Oh, I feel Australia again deserves another 7.5 or close to an 8. Maybe a 7.5 is fair. They did not start off well, lost their first game. But I think they've really shown some amazing character, especially individual figures in the team. I mean, Maxwell, that innings was phenomenal. So I think they deserve that 7.5, 8 rating. I think that's fair for them.
Agreed. Works.
So let's move on to Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, I would say around a 4 or a 5 because again, they were one team that was expected to give a couple of more upsets, but honestly, I don't think they have. And I think Afghanistan's a new Bangladesh, if I might say it. Because honestly, what Bangladesh has done probably in the 2011 or 2015, they were expected to 1 or 2. Which team would be the question, but they would give 1 or 2 upsets. And I think Afghanistan's taken over greatly in that aspect. So, and again, some really, bad captaincy. I'll be honest. I'm not going to state out why, but there are some aspects that I would really not do it the same way. So I would give them a good 5. Yeah, 5. Not even a 6. A good 5.
So talking about our neighbors, let's move on to Sri Lanka.
Oh, honestly speaking, Sri Lanka, I think a 5 or a 6 for them. To be very honest, Sri Lanka has come in with a very young squad in this World Cup. I think they're going through a transition phase. So having such a young squad and still being able to get a couple of wins in the World Cup, I think that's commendable. And they have a few individual players who've really stood out. I mean, Nissanka, for that matter, in the batting
Madhushanka as well.
Madhushanka in the bowling. He's among the top wicket takers right now in the World Cup. So I think it's a building step for them where, they can just get better from this point on with this team and with such young and inexperienced players. So I think a solid 6 or 5 for them.
Yeah. Works.
So the next one, let's take it New Zealand.
I'd say I'm giving them an 8 for sure because again, one of the most consistent teams in the World Cup so far. Not just this World Cup, but over the past few editions. They always, even though they don't have that. Not a lot of people talk of them. Not a lot of people write about them. But then they come there and consistently make it to the semis, and they look comfortable for all the matches. Maybe a couple of one match here and there where they took a couple of wrong calls during the toss, and that's why they had to lose by a big margin. But other than that, in terms of playing clinical cricket, they've played according to the situation and they've played really well. And with Kane Williamson back, that should just make it even more better. So I'm giving them a good 8. Yeah.
So now the team everybody loves to hear about, Pakistan.
Yeah. Okay, I think Pakistan again 7. I'd say. See, I'll tell you why. When you think Pakistan's going to win, they lose. And when you think they're going to lose, they win. So there's really no way of guessing what might actually happen. But
I think he's being too generous by giving Pakistan a 7. I would probably say a 6 for them because when Pakistan came into this tournament, they had the number 1 ODI batsman Babarazam. We had the number 1 bowler as well. And after that, coming to such a place where they had to fight for that semi-final spot and still they don't get it. I think there are a lot of departments that Pakistan needs to look out for and see what's happening wrong for them. Spin, I think, has been a very big problem for them throughout this tournament. Their pacers were able to really create pressure in the power play, but after that, when you have that middle spell of overs from after the power play till the 40th over, I think that's where they were leaking a lot of runs. They're not able to really create pressure on the batsmen with their spinners and even their pacers coming on later. So I think Pakistan has a lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, I think just one thing to add on. I think it's just the consistency in terms of Pakistan. When the batting performs, the bowling doesn't, and when it's like that, you win games, but you don't win tournaments.
Exactly.
Because you have the entire team to perform. So yeah.
So with a lot of sympathy in my heart, I have to ask, what do you rate England?
4.
4, a 3. I'm thinking a 3. I'm telling you again. See, only because of the fact that they came in as one of the actual favorites to defend the title. Because up until even like a couple of, I think they beat New Zealand convincingly way before. Not in the first match of the tournament. Like they just toured New Zealand like before the tournament, and they beat them convincingly in a 3-match series or a 5-match series. I'm not sure, but given the kind of form they were in. Again, I don't know what went wrong. Honestly, I really don't see any technical faults there. It has to be in the temperament. It has to be inside the head. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if it's the management, the coaching, what, but they didn't stand up to the expectations at all, even a little bit. And I didn't even see, a little bit of, I don't want to say enthusiasm, but at least I think after a point they were just not even wanting to be on the field. It looked, a couple of dismissals were so soft dismissals that it just feels, so I think they have a lot of thinking to do, a lot of rework to be done. I think they've done that before from 2015, 2019, and I'm sure they'll come back stronger. But as far as this tournament goes, I think they're by far the worst tournament. Even they might not finish in the end of it, but again, given the expectations, I think they're the worst team in the tournament. So I think a 3.
And we might even not get to see them in the Champions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, coming to the end, what about Netherlands?
Netherlands, I think I'll give them a solid 5. Of course, they haven't won a lot of games, but I think they won more games than anybody expected them to.
For sure.
Defeating South Africa, I think that was their biggest, bragging rights that they have for this tournament, that they have defeated a team like South Africa.
Yeah.
And when you have a team like Netherlands, which probably, at the start of the tournament that, okay, these guys are probably not in contention for semi-finals or even the knockout stages, you probably don't approach those matches with a lot of the same attitude in which you approach your important matches. But I think Netherlands has given their 100% to every single match. They have gone out there to win. And that is very good in the sense of the upcoming tournaments that they will play. Because I think this is just a base for them to build on.
Yes, yeah. I think another major point is that, even though they've not been able to perform as a team, there have been some really good individual performances. And again, they might get more chances, or there might be more fixtures for them, and all in all, a good picture for the Netherlands cricket in total. So I think better things to come for them.
So let's move on to South Africa.
Oh, I feel South Africa deserves a solid 8.
Sure, for sure.
The kind of matches they've played, and especially with them batting first, they've put up massive totals on the board. And they've had players across all departments who have really performed. De Kock, for that matter, is someone who's going to go into retirement and then coming back and scoring 4 centuries in that World Cup. He could get even more in the semi-finals and if they go to the finals. So I think South Africa has had an amazing campaign. Of course, they got a really bad loss against India. But I think it's more of giving credit to India rather than blaming South Africa for getting that loss. So I think a solid 8 for South Africa.
It works.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. South Africa is also one team that needs to be looked forward to. So now let's come to the unbeaten Lions, the host India. So talking about them, how much would you rate them?
I would want it. This has been a lot of debate over this. I think it should be a 10. I don't think one thing that can do differently.
You don't want to jinx it.
You don't want to jinx it, I think.
Maybe a 9.5?
Yeah, a 9.5. Because, dude, the only problem is what else could they do better? They've been bulldozing everybody. And some performances, you feel like it's sometimes I just feel it's not real, especially against Sri Lanka. And to bowl them out for inside 100 3 times in a year, and that's the first team to do it. Almost unbelievable. So, but again, don't want to get a little complacent, don't want to be too overconfident. So, a good 9.5. But if they get 3 more wins, it's going to be a complete 10. Trust me. Just 3 more wins is all I'm asking. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree that these 3 wins would be the perfect Diwali gift for the whole country. So with this, we have also had some mind-boggling individual performances so far in the tournament. So which one player or performances impressed you the most?
I would say, in terms of, at least for India, it would be Shami. Because, let me be honest, to be sitting on the bench for most part of the tournament and to show up how to take 2 fifers and another 4-for in 3 matches. Already, I think the 3rd or the 4th leading wicket taker, and he's played like half the matches the rest of the players have played. And he's not even bowling with a new ball. He's the first change for India. And it's honestly the kind of bench strength that India has. It's not surprising that they've got 8 in 8, and that I'm not surprised if they get 9 in 9 or even like 12 in 12 or how many other matches they play. The kind of bench strength that they have is amazing. And especially Shami, and also a little bit more into the past. I don't think think he's had the best last year as honestly. A few off the field problems as well, and to come back and to perform the way that he has. Honestly, again coming back, I don't really see why I shouldn't give them a 9.5 only because of Shami. I'll be honest. So yeah, from one person that one player or one performance that stood out for me during the entire tournament has to be Shami, and I really look forward to looking at him in the finals and semi-finals, the knockouts as well, because I think he will be a very key factor, and especially because of the kind of name that he's gotten for himself in this tournament, the kind of form he is in. I think probably the teams have to come up with a bigger, game plan just for him. So if Bumrah doesn't get you, and if Siraj doesn't get you, Shami for sure will get you. So it's honestly, I've honestly been a huge fan, and especially after today. Yes, I mean this tournament. Yeah.
It has to be Glenn Maxwell for me. That innings against Afghanistan, the entire world is talking about it, but I think it deserves all the credit that he's getting. Being in that situation, 91 for 7, and then going on to score a double century, and that too in a World Cup, it's mind-boggling. And I think I was lucky enough to witness that match live. Gershem was there with me. The kind of atmosphere that was there in the Wankhede Stadium, that was amazing. And the kind of radical shift that we saw in the supporters. We had everyone cheering and rooting for Afghanistan when they got those early wickets. But then the way Maxwell turned that game, and even people who were going all in for Afghanistan, they had to show respect for Maxwell.
I think he's taking a subtle dig at me. I'll be honest, because I was honestly rooting for Afghanistan, because I'm always with the underdogs. But again, as he said, Maxwell just blew away the entire crowd. Yeah.
And not taking any credit away from Maxwell or the Australian team, but I think that match or that particular second innings, that kind of brought to the front Afghanistan's inexperience.
True.
Because, to be very honest, Afghanistan gave that match away. I think they started off with trying to win the match and then went on to defend the total.
Yeah.
That was a shift that we saw for them. Because when you're at 91 for 7 and when you know that you can take away the match from there, your field changes, your bowling decisions, I think they could have been a lot better for Afghanistan.
True.
But no credits taken away from Maxwell. Huge respect for him. And
He had all the eyes.
And I think Maxwell also has been very handy with off spin also this tournament. I never really saw him as a bowling all-rounder or a batting all-rounder. But I just thought maybe he'll give you 2-3 overs in a ODI. But he's actually stepped up and been and Australia are missing a spinner. So in that case, he's performed great. And this is just the cherry on the top this inning. So
I totally agree with you guys that Maxwell was the hero for that match. And now let's talk about this last encounter of the group stage. India has already confirmed their position on the top of the table, and Netherlands has no chance to make it to the knockouts. So how would these two teams approach this match?
I'd say, Netherlands still have a chance, maybe not in the tournament, but they'd be really looking at that qualification for the Champions Trophy. I think that's one thing that Netherlands will for sure have in their minds. And India again might either look to test their bench strength, maybe give Ishan a match, maybe give Ashwin a match, just for the fact that they've been, sitting on the bench, and this honestly is dead rubber. Like this, that's going to have no effects for the tournament in the long run. So I think that's India's going to go with either of those. Again, I don't honestly know what the last thing's going to be. Personally, it's just going to be one of those. Either they're going to play with the winning combination and try to just get 8 out of 8 and go in with high on confidence, or they probably might try and just get Ishan a match, or maybe experiment and maybe even rest a couple of the pacers as well. I mean, they've been doing a great job, and maybe they can take but the way they're bowling, I don't think any of them would want to sit out, I'll be honest. But maybe Rohit will have to force one of them to sit out and maybe be fresh for the next knockouts. So I think that's one way that both the teams would look into it.
Yeah, what he said, and I don't want to belittle Netherlands here, but even if India do make a few changes and get in their bench players, I think it's still going to be an easy match for India. They are still going to go through this match. So winning this match, I think, doesn't really become a question for India. But yeah, as he said, giving some players the much needed rest is, I think, more important. So let's see what we see from the board and from Rohitsharma.
And I think just for Netherlands is very important. I think only because for the Champions Trophy that they won, I think they've never qualified for a Champions Trophy as far as I'm concerned. So, but this was the first time they're going to be able to, and it's a huge step. It's a huge deal, especially coming off a tournament like this where they've upset one semi-finalist in South Africa. Again, sounds like another Afghanistani story, you know what I mean? Like Afghanistan were in the same place 2015 time, and now they've come here, and this will only make them more believe in themselves more. This will only make them better, and so even see, let me be honest, even if they don't get a win, if they're able to test the Indian batters, I think they'll take that as a win. They'll for sure take that as a win, just because the kind of way India's playing and the kind of wins that India's had against even the second best team in South Africa, or any team for that matter, they've just bulldozed all the teams. And for a team like Netherlands, to an associate nation, to even test one of their, just would be a win for them. So
yeah, but I also feel it's going to be a very exciting match.
For sure.
It'll be fun for the Indians to win, I feel. Now, since we heard from experts, let's hear from our audience. According to you, which is a more impactful knock in World Cup history? Maxwell's 201 or Kapil Dev's 175?
I think, at least for me, it has to be the Kapil Dev innings way back in '83. Mainly because it was times that changed the way Indian cricket was ever played again, and the way people looked at it, and also because it was a do-or-die situation, if I remember correctly, and to have that kind of an innings, against when there's all odds are down, and to stand out as a captain and to lead from the front, I think that actually set the tone for the rest of not the tournament, but for until now. I think that is the start of the revolution of cricket in India, and the cricketing, how the cricket is today. I think all started from there, I really want to say.